December 15th, 2024. Day 15. Bible passage. Luke chapter 6, verses 1 to 19. Now it happened on the second Sabbath after the first that he went through the grain fields. And his disciples plucked the heads of grain and ate them, rubbing them in their hands. And some of the Pharisees said to them, "Why are you doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath?" But Jesus answering them said, "Have you not even read this? What David did when he was hungry, he and those who were with him, how he went into the house of God, took and ate the showbread, and also gave some to those with him, which is not lawful for any but the priests to eat. And he said to them, The Son of Man is also Lord of the Sabbath." Now it happened on another Sabbath also, that he entered the synagogue and taught. And a man was there whose right hand was withered. So the scribes and Pharisees watched him closely, whether he would heal on the Sabbath, that they might find an accusation against him. But he knew their thoughts, and said to the man who had the withered hand, "Arise and stand here." And he arose and stood. Then Jesus said to them, "I will ask you one thing. Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy?" And when he had looked around at them all, he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." And he did so, and his hand was restored as whole as the other. But they were filled with rage, and discussed with one another what they might do to Jesus. Now it came to pass in those days, that he went out to the mountain to pray, and continued all night in prayer to God. And when it was day, he called his disciples to himself. And from them he chose 12, whom he also named apostles: Simon, whom he also named Peter, and Andrew his brother, James and John, Philip and Bartholomew, Matthew and Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon called the Zealot, Judas the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who also became a traitor. And he came down with them, and stood on a level place with a crowd of his disciples, and a great multitude of people from all Judea and Jerusalem, and from the sea coast of Tyre and Sidon, who came to hear him and be healed of their diseases, as well as those who were tormented with unclean spirits, and they were healed. And the whole multitude sought to touch him, for power went out from him and healed them all. Reflection. Today's Bible passage presents a rich narrative that highlights Jesus' authority, compassion, and teaching on the Sabbath, healing, and discipleship. We reflect on the presentation of Jesus as the Lord of the Sabbath. The Pharisees accused Jesus' disciples of breaking the Sabbath law by picking grain. Jesus responds by referencing David, emphasizing that human need takes precedence over ritual observance. This reminds us that God's laws are meant to serve humanity, not to burden us. Jesus, as the Lord of the Sabbath, teaches us to prioritize mercy and compassion over legalism. How often do we focus on rigid rules instead of the spirit behind them? Jesus calls us to live a faith of love and grace, putting human needs first. Healing on the Sabbath. Jesus heals a man with a withered hand on the Sabbath, knowing it would provoke the Pharisees. His question, "Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath?" challenges the narrow interpretation of the law. The Pharisees' outrage reveals their hardened hearts, while Jesus shows that love and restoration are at the heart of God's law. Do we let societal expectations stop us from showing compassion? Jesus encourages us to act boldly for good, even when it's unpopular. Choosing the 12 apostles. Before selecting his apostles, Jesus spends the night in prayer. This highlights the importance of seeking God's guidance in making significant decisions. The chosen apostles are a diverse group, symbolizing the inclusivity of God's kingdom. Do we take time to seek God's will in our decisions? Jesus models the importance of prayer and discernment. Jesus' healing ministry. Crowds gather to hear Jesus and be healed. His power and compassion are evident as people seek to touch him and find healing. This reflects the restorative nature of Jesus' mission, both physically and spiritually. Do we approach Jesus with faith, knowing he has the power to heal and restore us? His ministry reminds us that God's grace is accessible to all who seek it. Personal application. How can I prioritize compassion and mercy over rigid traditions in my daily life? Am I spending enough time in prayer to align my decisions with God's will? Do I seek Jesus not only for healing, but also for transformation? This passage invites us to reflect on how we embody Christ's teachings in our relationships, decisions, and actions. It calls us to live a life rooted in love, prayer, and trust in Jesus' authority. Thank you, Father Hoping, our Bible study today. Please join us daily and subscribe to grow our channel. May God bless and be with us all.